I saw a news item recently on one of my news feeds called News Items from John Ellis, quoting a Wall Street Journal about manufacturing jobs in the United States and investment and some perhaps inverse relationship, I don't know. But anyway, being involved in manufacturing virtually my entire life, I was interested in pursuing that Wall Street Journal article. And further on, having covered automation as a writer and an editor and so on for 28 years or something, a long time now. I must be getting old. Anyway, I've been intrigued with the idea that, or the observation actually, that international companies, for example, Siemens, ABB, Yokogawa, and several others, have reduced their presence in the United States. And as a matter of fact, even U.S.-based automation companies, except for Rockwell Automation, whose sales are primarily North America, or greatly. But even Emerson Exchange is taking place in Dubai. Honeywell has been doing their hugs overseas, although this year it's going to be back in Phoenix, where I used to go all the time. But anyway, less presence in the U.S. So what is manufacturing in the U.S. and what have people been doing about it and so on? And so I thought I would ponder those ideas for a while on this podcast, which has been delayed due to some technical difficulties and other things. Should have had it out some time ago. Matter of fact, I've thrown away 2 recordings so far. So back in the saddle again. First one of these I did was almost 20 years ago now, hard to believe, 19 years of podcasting. Today's podcast, thinking of which, is sponsored by Inductive Automation. They're the makers of Ignition, the world's most versatile industrial automation platform for connecting data, systems, and people. With the new Ignition 8.3 release, you can easily manage time series and event data, quickly create custom graphics with onboard drawing tools, and centralize control using Ignition's new gateway interface with control, global search, and deep link launching, providing additional support for Git, containers, and private data protection to go along with its unlimited licensing. Ignition 8.3 takes industrial operations to the next level. Download Ignition for free at inductiveautomation.com. So long before Trump's latest administration, a few politicians have recognized America's manufacturing, shall we say, demise. It's caused by a number of things. Like I say, I've been involved for a long time, and based on some of my experiences, I often point to what's called the Walmart effect. And I remember the advertising switching one day by Walmart from Made in America to lowest price always. Having sold to Walmart and others, I mean, a couple of places I worked in consumer product development, we basically sold to like 2, 3, 4 maybe customers were like 80% or more of our business. And as some of the places like Sears and Kmart and so on went away, pretty much it's Walmart is where you sell. And every year Walmart would come back and say, we need a lower price. Same product basically, just lower the price. And so there was a scramble of how can I cut cost? And basically the bean counters eventually said, let's go to chase the lowest labor cost because that's a variable. And I suppose they could balance it out by saying they buy so much we can afford to ship in containers from, say, China to the U.S. and be able to get the cost down even more. And so it drove costs down and it drove manufacturing out of the U.S. Then, starting quite some time ago, the numbers weren't looking good. And I always pondered this as I was looking at it from, a lot of the companies started thinking they were international companies. They spread their operations all over the world. And I thought, well, to me, that's a good thing. If you can spread middle class, middle income around the world, it should stabilize things like politics and so on all the way around the world also. But the problem I saw was, what if there's another war? And the lessons at my grandfather's knee, who transformed a General Motors plant during World War II from making refrigerators to making machine gun bolts for aircraft. You need the manufacturing might to win a war, actually. And as much as I am a peace-loving person, if I were in charge of a country, I would have to consider that in my strategic planning. So I always, it's kind of like, not only do we need manufacturing for jobs and that sort of thing, but we it's a national security thing for basically every country that's involved. But so there's investment and so on. So I'm going to read this quote from taken from news items by John Ellis, and he's quoting the Wall Street Journal. And he says, the manufacturing boom President Trump promised would usher in a golden age for America is going in reverse. After years of economic interventions by the Trump and Biden administrations, fewer Americans work in manufacturing than at any point since the pandemic ended. Manufacturers shed workers in each of the 8 months after Trump unveiled Liberation Day tariffs, according to federal figures, extending a contraction that has seen more than 200,000 roles disappear since 2023. An index of factory activity tracked by the Institute for Supply Management shrunk in 26 straight months through December. That would be December 2025. That showed a January uptick in new orders of production that surprised analysts. The Census Bureau estimates that manufacturing construction spending, which surged with the Biden-era funding for chips and renewable energy, fell in each of Trump's first 9 months in office. So, despite let's go back to the first 9 months of Trump being in office. I'm going to refer to a writer that I really respect. His name is Om Malik, and he recently wrote about an announcement media economy, if you will, that it's all about announcements. Can I make announcements? How fast can I make announcements? There's a velocity to announcements. And we saw that in the first Trump administration. We saw some of it in the Biden administration. We see it again the first year of the Trump administration. And we see it especially with the two guys, Dario and Sam, jousting each other in the AI realm of who can make more announcements faster and announce bigger things and bolder things. And manufacturers are announcing that we're bringing manufacturing back from China, and we announce investments in the U.S. in manufacturing in a lot of ways. And you combine all of those things, and it's like, how many of those announcements actually come true? How many of the announcements that Sam Altman makes about investment in OpenAI actually are investments? But on the other hand, we did have actual dollars coming out of originally the Biden administration on making chips. I mean, how many chips are we making? We had announcements about, other manufacturing, Foxconn in Wisconsin and other things, and plants in Texas and plants in other places, and how many of them actually have come to fruition. But I think part of the problem is, investment's good. I mean, it's good that the federal government, although preferably I would like to see investment otherwise, but, investment in a new plant, in a new facility, and so on. When I look at process control and the process industries, I just got 2 new announcements about ways to migrate and upgrade older control in a brownfield in an existing plant, because how many new process plants, how many new refineries, how many new chemical plants, even how many new pharmaceutical, especially the way things are going now, how many new pharmaceutical plants are there going to be? And all this comes back to something I would suggest is really less investment and more leadership. No, not leadership in Washington, leadership in businesses. How many leaders do we have that are setting their company course on finding needs of consumers, customers of one way or another, either business to business or business to consumer kind of things, and then setting forth their designers and product managers and product development people and all these kind of people to develop a product that meets a need that customers will actually buy. That's the starting point, and then you need to just figure out, you need to turn it over to the engineers to figure out how to make it. Then you have to invest in the manufacturing plants and the equipment to make those products. But it all starts with visionary leadership that's trying to solve problems and build products to solve these problems. And you could say, okay, we're going to authorize investment of $1 billion to do a chip plant in Arizona or whatever the heck. That's all well and good, but can Intel actually design and build better chips that Apple and other computing places can buy that would, say, be better than NVIDIA's chips or AMD or anybody else? And it takes a whole ecosystem of things, I suggest, that it's more than the Walmart effect. It's more, that's also a lack of visionary leadership. And it's more than just investing, just making an announcement that I'm going to invest in a new plant. You invest in a plant to make something. What are you going to make? Is it something that people will buy? Is it a better product? And I think there's a whole ecosystem stuff here, and I don't necessarily like the term ecosystem, but it is. It's a whole big system of leadership and vision and finding needs and building a product to define it. And it doesn't always have to be a huge plant. It can be smaller plants. Matter of fact, the last statistics I've seen for many, many years is there's more employment and vitality in small to mid-sized companies than in the large companies anyway. And they may not need $1 billion, maybe a couple $100 million and a forward-thinking community that allows the plant to be built. Something like that could be a much better use of time, resources, and thinking. But anyway, I was thinking about this and sort of the lack of building in the U.S., and I think it's more than just moving the plants out. That's already happened, and now they've discovered that maybe that's not as economical as they thought, but they still need the visionary leadership, and also the leadership in things like lean manufacturing and other things that can bring costs down without destroying the people and the jobs. It takes people to run things. I don't care what you think about AI. AI is a tool, and you're still going to need people to think and do, and people that can, actually operate the equipment and so on. As of right now, despite all the talk that there is out there, we still haven't hit that lights out factory. I just was enticed into an interview, and the PR person told me about lights out, and actually that's not what he said. He's lighthouse manufacturing, the lighthouse plant that paves the way. We still don't have I told the old joke that we'll build a manufacturing plant and it'll have one employee, it'll have a man, and he'll be sitting on a chair and there's a switch to turn things on, and there'll be a dog, and the dog's job is to prevent the man from turning this switch off, and otherwise the thing will just churn out products. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think we need ingenuity and hands-on in many respects, and we need people that can think and people that can make decisions and people that can go. So anyway, is investment it? Investment is good. We need investment, but we need to invest in something that's actually useful and solves a need, and people will buy. And that's kind of my thoughts on that whole Wall Street Journal thing. And I started out talking about political administrations. They come and go. Every president comes along, says they can cure the economy, and the economy goes and does whatever it's going to do regardless. And then presidents are frustrated and wonder why they don't get better press. And this takes me all the way back to when I studied political science for a year or two in university and read about John Kennedy's administration. And John Kennedy says, I issued an executive order and nothing really happened. And they said, well, you're only the president, Mr. President. Anyway, this has been a frustrating thing that goes back 150 years probably. So nothing new about all the politics you read about. What's really needed is leadership in business, leadership in manufacturing, product leadership, that sort of thing. So thinking today, and this is actually an American company that when I first met the founder 23 years ago, I'm always questioning, but also impressed with his vision. And 23 years, the company, and now he's passed the torch on to a new leadership generation, and they still are fulfilling the vision of the way to build and sell software. And I'm talking about inductive automation and their Ignition platform. And the podcast is sponsored by Inductive. And let's take a look at Ignition, that they say is the world's most versatile industrial automation platform for connecting data, systems, and people. With the new Ignition 8.3 release, you can easily manage time series and event data, quickly create custom graphics, and as aside from their blurb, I watched how they do it and how that's developed over the years. Really cool the way you can do graphics now. And with their onboard drawing tools, centralized control using Ignition's new gateway interface with global search and deep link launching, providing additional support for Git, containers, and private data protection. 3 things I never thought I would read about industrial software. So anyway, they support that, and it go along with their unlimited licensing, which is the true thing that really has kept them at the forefront of this market. Ignition 8.3 takes industrial operations to the next level. Download Ignition for free at inductiveautomation.com. And I would suggest going to inductiveautomation.com and checking out use cases that they have, new things coming up, a lot of things going on, a lot of cool things. They're providing some support sometime this year probably for agentic AI, other things coming up, some really cool stuff. They're on the forefront. So I thank them for sponsoring me yet another year. So this is Gary Minchell, signing off of another Gary on Manufacturing. Thank you for listening. And as you pursue your day, just try to be a little kinder to yourself as well as to others. Thank you.